class for the first time, this is the Friends of Figma community, the Kigali chapter. Um, so we're basically building a community for designers, and, mostly people who work on the designing end of digital products. People who usually use design software, whiteboarding software, to illustrate concepts and then create products. So by the Kigali chapter, what that means, so these usually exist per city, um, all together combined. They create a global network uh, for Figma around the globe. So that's pretty much it on the intro. So today's topic, um, second, let's see, we have 14. All right. Yeah. So today's topic is going to be around building smart prototypes with Figma. I'll go ahead and start. The others will join as we go because we have to keep time. Last session was it was a bit long. All right. So to start with introductions, my name is Frank Guga. I'm a product designer. I'm also here as the chapter's leader. Today's session is going to be driven by Honore, head of product design at Awesomity Lab. I'm pretty sure most of you know Awesomity Lab. If I just give you a quick overview of who they are. This is their website, so awesomity.rw. So they build products, and Honore is here to take us through today's session. The usual. This session is going to be recorded, and it's going to be uploaded on our YouTube channel and shared with everyone. By the end of the session, we'll have a Q&A. We'll have the Q&A open for people to go on and ask questions after this presentation. Then you have access to the chat, where you can chat to everyone. And then last point is around code of conduct. You can find more under this Figma link. Okay, and then our agenda today is going to be if I'm going to hand over to Honore to give us an introduction. Is going to take us through. Maybe some of us on this call may be new to this. Basically, understanding prototyping. What is it? If it's a new concept to some of the people on the call. He's going to go then after to the third point, where he'll show advanced prototyping techniques. Basically from basic, the difference between basic and advanced. And then he's going to go ahead and give us a demo, going through that comparison, basically coming from static prototypes to advanced ones. And then the last point is going to be tips for prototyping that he'll share with us. Okay, so Honore, I'll switch over to you.
Hello, everyone. As you said, my name is Yves Honore, and I'm a product designer. And I've been doing this professionally starting from 2015. So this year marks, let's say, my 10th year anniversary doing this. Yeah, let's dive deeper into this. Uh, First of all, what is prototyping? Basically, this is visualizing ideas before we start even writing codes. Basically, this is like trying on an outfit before buying it, or testing food before serving like the full meal. For uh, yeah, basically that is what prototyping is in simple terms. And also, one could ask, why do we even need prototyping in uh, digital product design? The very first reason why we need prototyping, because it's easier to catch problems early. Like with prototypes, you can easily find confusing flows, missing features before even developers start to implement. A quick example that I can give, for example, whenever we have written requirements, it's always easier to skip uh, some things that we didn't think. For example, if we have a form and then we have there's on a form we need, let's say, field for category. In requirements, we feel like in a requirement document, we feel like that's it. But when it comes to prototyping, that's where we have questions like, is it going to be an open text? Is it going to be a select field? And if it's a select field, how are we going to be fetching those categories? Are they going to be static, or those are things that we also need to manage in the dashboard somewhere. So because of prototyping now, there's a room of discussion on, let's say, a simple thing like an input field that could even affect the whole implementation. For example, in the requirement, we didn't know maybe that we need to have a feature to manage categories, but with prototyping, now you get to have that insight that maybe we might need a feature to to manage different categories. So with prototyping, it's easier to catch problems early. And the next thing, it saves time and money, because it's always easier to fix a prototype and it's cheap than just fixing a whole product. Uh, uh, i- Whenever we want to align with the client, most of the time we do have back and forth of feedbacks and stuff. So it's always easier to do that on a prototype, uh, because with the prototype you you get to change things easier than the actual implementation, which might take time and also money as well. The next thing is to align with all stakeholders, designers, developers, clients, and even end users. Uh, Sometimes when we're talking about requirements, we might feel like we are on the same page, but it's always surprising when it comes to prototyping. When something is visual, that's when people start uh, to see the different perspectives that they were having on a product. For example, someone could say that they want something simple, and then everyone is aligned on the word simple until they see a natural prototype. You might find that my version of simple is not the same version of simple to the developer, to the client, and then we end up misaligned. But with the visual prototype, with the prototype, it's always easier to give feedback, also to see where everyone is, and also easier to align. Um, the next thing is with prototyping, you get to explore different ideas quickly. We're talking about multiple layouts, multiple flows, concepts, and this is something you can't just do with the actual implementation. And I know some of the designers sometimes might not like whenever let's say a client is like, can you give me like four different versions of this design so that we can compare? And most of us we hate that, and we tend to forget that that is even the whole point of a prototype. It's just do as many as uh, different ideas, different layouts, different flows, and then test what you like the most, and also change things, because that is the whole point of a prototype, like exploring different ideas. Um, the another thing is it brings ideas to life, and as I kept saying this, with just documents, requirement documents, sometimes people get bored, and also sometimes people don't even understand fully like the bigger vision of the product you're building. And with that, you might even miss some uh, meaningful feedbacks or insights. But with a prototype, people get excited, people see the vision, and also it's easier for people to give feedback, because now they can see uh, how things they can see the bigger vision of the product that they are building. And also talking about bringing ideas to life, this brings us to today's session about smarter prototypes. Now, w- before we dive deeper into smarter prototypes, let's see what are the basic prototypes. So basic prototypes, those are the prototypes that only focus on maybe basic navigations, where someone uh, be just clicking around. And if we are generous enough, we also offer like over animated screen to screen transitions, which which I don't think this is enough, because there's some problems with this. And this is what we also going to see. What's the problem of those basic prototyping, where people will be just clicking from one screen to another without having um, something more like different scenarios. One of the problem would be this kind of prototyping, like the basic prototyping that I just mentioned, is always good for happy path only. And we all know that users behave differently when it comes to using different products. And also, we have different edge cases. And as a designer, if you cannot also design, if you cannot cater for that, or all those different edge cases, we are missing a big part of prototyping, because a developer, yes, they can see different flows, like how the maybe the user will log in, but also they need to see what if the password is wrong, how is the error message going to be displayed, what if, let's say, the button is disabled, how is it going to look like all different edge cases. And also not only for developers, even for the all stakeholders you are working with on the project, sometimes you are missing out on the insights that they could give you. For example, if you present, let's say, an error message, you might find different insights on maybe the wording you are using, the maybe, I don't know, the design itself. So if you only focus on happy path only, that's when you end up having a lot of discussions with developers later, asking you different things like, what if the list is empty? What should we display? All those kind of stuff. So as a designer, you should not only focus on happy path only, or you should also focus on different edge cases. Another problem with those basic prototypes, you have a limited realistic logic before coding. That is when we have different questions from developers asking like things like what if the user enters wrong information, or yeah, all those different questions that you can't just simulate in in a mockup. Um, Another thing is some designers they always want to try, let's say, to simulate all different edge cases. But sometimes using basic prototyping, you end up having more duplicates. Like designers will waste a lot of hours duplicating screens to just to fake like a simple logic that could be solved by the simple technique using smarter uh, prototypes. Um, Now, imagine if we could, let's say, stop creating endless duplicate screens, and then we use one smart set of components that adapts to different scenarios. And also, on top of that, we add like a layer of realistic logic to that might be used by developers. Then that is where the smarter prototyping comes in, and also that is what we are going to be diving into today. So how can we make our basic prototypes like smarter prototypes? So we Figma provided like at the moment like four uh, four powerful tools, and one being components. And components, these are the elements that you create once and also reuse everywhere you want to use them. We are talking about buttons, we're talking about cards, navigation bar, models, or any other element that you want to reuse. And this will help us to, to, to maintain consistency at scale. For example, if you want to change, for example, you have a project with 100 different screens, and then you want to change the design of the buttons you are using. So with components, you just have to change, let's say, one parent button, and then the changes reflect everywhere instantly without having to change different screens where you used, let's say, the button. And also this helps us reducing the micro adjustment. And also that is something I know that most of the designers hate. Like for example, you've made you have like as I said, 100 screens, then they want you to change maybe you've or you have like a list of 50 records, and then you have to switch maybe something, maybe one column, maybe you have to bring it in front, and then instead of having to go through all the 50 records, you just need one component, you change it, and then the changes reflect everywhere else. But also that is not all. When it comes to components, we could also take advantage of components um, to design some micro interactions that brings life to your prototype. We're talking about some subtle animations, hover effects, and also other different um, animation that we could be creative around. The second tool would be variables, and variables store data that your prototype can read and react to. We're talking about colors, numbers, text, and also Boolean values, and also variables. With variables, we are unlocking like real logic, and also making prototypes behave like real apps or behave like it should behave in a real context. And combining variables and components that will make the prototypes extremely realistic. And the more realistic we become on our prototypes, the more insights we could get um, from different stakeholders. And as I said, the more we miss different edge cases while prototyping, the more we miss some useful insights that will make us change a lot of things during the development. So the more realistic we become when it comes to prototyping, the less will be changing things in the actual implementation. And the third one will be conditional logic. Basically, uh, this will let you create like if-then behaviors. For example, if card count equals to 0, maybe disable the checkout button. If let's say the quantity is greater than the maybe the stock, maybe disable the add to cart button, stuff like that. Or with conditional logic, we can achieve a lot of things with conditional logic. We're going to see how we could use that shortly. And the last one being modes or switching between different realities. We're talking about light mode and dark mode. Uh, for example, you have maybe if you are building uh, maybe an e-commerce and part of the products that you are also selling alcohol, and then the among your users you'll be having maybe users under 18. You could also have instead of, let's say, as I said, instead of duplicating, you could also have mods saying, let's say, if maybe under 18 mod and also above 18 mod, where maybe you could display different products, including alcohol. And then with the same screen, if maybe the mod is for under 18, you'll be displaying different commodities, excluding alcohol. So those are the different scenarios where you could just use mods. We'll also see more about that in a few, maybe without taking much of your time. Let's see how we could use some of those in a real example. So today we're going to use this simple app. It's called Diviner. So this simply detects if you click there, that is a splash screen, and then it asks you different questions, and then from the answers that you you'll be responding to, and then the app could detect maybe if you're a developer or if you're a designer. And we also have different tabs here, one to switch to dark mode and another one to switch uh, to different language, being English or Kinyarwanda. And once you submit, maybe there will be a page depending on the score that will tell you if you're a designer or if you're a developer, and then you have an option to retake the test. So if you look at this, for a developer, yes, they can see different screens that they have, and also they can they maybe understand the logic behind. But for example, because we don't have some logic, let's say, behind the design, we might end up having a lot of questions, maybe from developers, saying like how is the developer side will be looking. For example, what happens if someone keeps clicking here? What will happen if, let's say, these coffee cups are 5? So things like that. So this leaves a room of a lot of different questions. Now, with a smarter prototype, now you could see we have some different subtle animation. Uh, Basically, this will make developers life easier, because now they know how the splash screen will behave, which is different to just this showing a developer like the splash screen. But also you should show them also how this will be behaving. And also when it comes to, let's say, different coffee cups, you might as well add different functionalities. Like we have like here a coffee cup count, and in case you want to, let's say, to exceed 5, maybe there's something that is happening. Now the developers will not have to guess maybe what they should do. Same thing, maybe if you want to go below 1 coffee cup per day. And also on uh, quick, quick one, if we are about, let's say, to have this implementation, let's say using basic prototyping, to achieve this, I might have to create, let's say, 5 different screens, and then this taking me to a second screen, this to a third one, this to a fourth one, and this is really not sustainable, if I can say. And on the settings now, we have functional, let's say, dark mode feature, and this affects everything on the prototype as well. And also, if we could, using basic prototyping, that means we would have duplicated everything and then also do a dark mode version as well. We also have language switcher. For example, if I click on Kinyarwanda, now everything goes to Kinyarwanda. It could be like everywhere, everything goes to Kinyarwanda. Now, again, to achieve this with basic prototyping, then I will have to create another version of Kinyarwanda as well. And if also I want a Kinyarwanda version in the dark mode, then I will again duplicate the all screens also to have a Kinyarwanda dark version as well. Another thing I want to show you now, depending on things you've selected, how you've let me put this back in English. Depending on the things that you've selected, let's say 4 cups of coffee per day, performance overlooks, and also it's just colors and font. So this probably will be a developer. A developer will be the one agreeing with this, let's say, statement. If I submit, now you could see that on the designer score I have 0, but on the developer score I have 6. And then the app tells me that I'm a developer. If I could retake this and then try different, let's say, different replies, now you see that the result page also changes accordingly. Now your designer score is 6, developer score is 2. So, and everything that I've been able to achieve here, so I've been able to achieve that without having duplicates, with only these screens, having the splash screen, having the take a test screen as well, and also the settings, and also the I've duplicated this so that I will show you different ways we could use conditional logic here. But maybe let me start with how we components. Let me start with how we've used component to achieve this animation. So here you have, okay, let me just duplicate this and repeat this again. So I'll take this and group them into, let's say, let me group them into one group. And if I make this a component, you could make this a component by clicking on this create component icon here. And always a component, let me do it on a different frame. Yes, a component always could have a different variations. That means is like a different form a component could have. So for me to create another variation, I could just click on here, add a variant, and then from this, maybe let's say this variant, let me increase let me reduce the opacity to maybe 20. And so I want this, I want my frame to come from here, let's say to here, from opacity being 0 to being full. In fact, this is the one that should be on 0, because this is my starting point, and then this should be 100. Yes. Now we have this, we go to the prototype tab, and then I want to come from this variant to this, but this time I don't want to use the tab. I just want maybe after delay. Maybe that's, and also change to this variant, and also I want this to be smart animate instead of being instant. Maybe let me use one of these. I could use slow. Yeah. And then I want this to take, let's say, 3 seconds. Now, if I take this component and then I go back to our basic prototype, and then I come back here, now you could see that we start from being the opacity being at slightly at 20 to being at 100%. We could always add different things. Let's say I'm going to change this component, and then the changes will be reflected on this as well. Maybe to start, I want the gap to be a little bit bigger, and let's go back and see. If we come back to this, now you could see that we have a small animation for the splash screen. So that is one way you could use a component to achieve realistic uh, some realistic design. And yeah, and there's a lot of scenarios where you could use components. And another one that I want to highlight will be using icons as components. This is something that I always do as well. Having the icons that you'll be going to use throughout your project as components. Now, the reason why this is better, for example, let me take this. Let me copy this here for the sake of, and then I take a random icon here and put it to white. So now, if we have a button like this, and then for example, this is a component, and then I need another button but with a different icon. So instead of having to detach the component so that I could change the icon, or like having multiple buttons with different icons, I could just use the component feature, where I could just come to this icon if I already have a set of different icons here, and if they're all components, it's always easier to change. For example, I could just come to here and then choose a different icon. Even if these icons were, let's say, blue, they will always take the properties of where the icons I'm replacing them with, which is now white. So I don't have to have a blue version. I don't have to have, let's say, another white version to maybe to replace this. So this is one of the ways we could use components. And also another thing that I want just to highlight on component is this functionality here of clicking between these coffee cups, and then have this effect that we already have here. Like,
Sorry, quick one, Eve. So, since we're running with only 15 minutes,
yes,
maybe we want to get to the part where we show the logic aspects of this,
yes.
so how the coffee cups add up to the score and all that. Because yeah, this session is going to be recorded, everyone,
Mhm.
and we'll share this exercise file on our FOF Kigali page, so that people can play with that. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, let's go to the logic then. So before we go to the logic, then we have to understand the variables. So for me, um, on this, I've combined the component with the variables. So my first component, this is one component with 5 different variations. One being uh, called 1, and then these 2, we have 3, 4, and 5 as well. Now I call that let's say coffee count, and then I came here to the variables, and then have this variable called coffee count. Now, which is the initial value of the coffee count is now is 1, which is why we have this. Now, I've connected the names or the numbers of this variant of this component, and then I've connected it to the value of the coffee count variable, which means whenever I increase the value maybe to 2, 3, 4, this it will be switching between different variants. And then I just want to put this for example, I don't want to come always here to change this value. I just want to change this value whenever someone clicks on this button. If you go to the prototype, and then you see, so we have a conditional logic here. If coffee count is equal to 5, then that is when it will open the too much coffee overlay. This is the effect that we have here. Whenever we reach to 5, and then we always try to click here, this is what will be popping up. Then else, just take just take the coffee count variable, and then set the coffee count variable to coffee count, the value that it has at that moment, and then +1. So this is the logic here. So which means whenever I will be clicking on this button, I'll be taking this coffee count and then +1. That's when we get to, and then once we get to, we switch this to the second variant of the component, which is the same logic when it comes to this minus button. So you take once the coffee count equals 1, then also open the other overlay, and then else set the coffee count to coffee count, the number you will be having at that moment, -1. This will make sure that this won't exceed to 1. But if I can come here and change, you could see that I can even go down to -6, or can even go up to 10. But if you add some simple logic here, you can restrict that to from the interface, from the UI. Another thing that I just want to highlight is I have developer score and also designer score. And once, let's say, the coffee cups are 2 or less, then we on the designer score we add 2. And also once they are more, on the developer score we add 2. Same logic applies to different questions here. Once the user checked the performance overlooks, that means the developer score gets 2. Once they checked 4 pixels, not 3.5, maybe that might be a designer, we add 2 to the designer score. Same logic here. And then at the end of the day, we will compare the designer score to the developer score, which is what this button does. Now, on this button, we have 2 conditions. One is seeing if the coffee count is less than 3, set the designer score to designer score +2. Else, which means that would be 4, that would be 3 and 3, 4, and 5. Then set the developer score to 2. And we also have another condition, and then it will compare the designer score, because this is a submit button. It will compare the designer score versus the developer score. Now, Now we could see that with one button, we are able to navigate to two different pages depending on the logic we've added there. If the designer score is greater than developer score, then that is when it will navigate to the designer results page here. And then once the developer score is greater than the designer score, then it will be on this page. So this is also another way of using conditional logic uh, to navigate to different pages using only one page. Now, if I was about to, let's say, try to simulate this with basic prototyping, I would just add, let's say, a ghost button that will take me to one page, and then I will communicate that to the developers. If you want to see how it looks on the developer score, maybe you click somewhere here, so which is not feasible as well. And also with that, it's easier to call a variant. For example, this number is assigned to a designer score here. To give you context, let's say let me assign this to coffee count, which I know that is equal to 1. Now you see that it will be now 1. So it means the values that we are seeing here are being um, are coming from different variables, are coming from different variables that we created. Um, Another thing that I just want to show real quick is how we could leverage different modes. So with only these screens, now I don't have to create another version for let's say dark mode. What I would do on my variables, I have a new collection called colors. Now this is where I set all the colors that I'll be using. And then I create another mode called dark. You could just name it however you want. Now, from as I said, modes, that is a way where you could just switch different realities when it comes to your interface. Maybe here I've created light and dark, and then I've set different values. So whenever you see this color in this light mode, then this is its version in the dark mode. You do this to all different colors, and then now whenever you switch on different modes, on a different mode, then it will take the values on the mode that you have activated. And also, how do you add that functionality? Then I've created this again. This is just a component, and which let me just go to the parent, to the main component. This is the main component where we have the toggle that is off and also another one that is on. Now, when we come to the prototyping, now we have, once this is tapped, once we tap on this toggle, we do two things. One, we are changing this variant to variant 2. Variant 2 is this one, making it active. And then we also have to set, we have another thing that we've added, which is setting variable mode. Now, here you select the actions. As you can see, we have a lot of action: navigate to, change to. Now this time we've selected set variable mode, and then you select the collection, and then you choose
the mode. Now, if someone clicks here, I just want to change the look to this, and also change the mode to dark. That is when we have this. Sorry, that is when we have this functionality. So, uh, and then we do the same when someone clicks on this one that is active. You also change it to the default, and also set the variable mode to light. That is one way you could use mode, but also that is not it, because for example here we also do have English and Kinyarwanda. So that means you could have another collection, let's say content, and then we have um, English mode, if I can say, and also Kinyarwanda mode. You can always add as many modes as possible in case you want also to create a multi language prototype. Now, instead of having to duplicate everything and then have a different Kinyarwanda version or English version, now you could use the mods to have different mods. And also, the reason why this is crucial, most of the time when designers are designing something, let's say in English, it might look good, but the moment you transfer that, let's say, to a different language, especially like Kinyarwanda, because in Kinyarwanda we tend to have long, uh, long words that might not fit in the English, let's say, version of the UI that you've created. So we end up having issues uh, during the implementation, where we've only designed for one language, and then by the time we switch to another language, everything breaks. We have long text, we have uh, like different words that could not work with the prototype that you provided. So this is why it is also crucial to have different modes like Kinyarwanda mode, and also to test it before you hand it over to the developers, if I can say. Yeah. Um, I think those quickly those were like the brief of what we could achieve um, with the components, conditional logic, and uh, variables and modes. So there's a lot of stuff that you you guys also can explore when it comes to different modes, different. Uh, you can always be creative around those this tool, and then try to find uh, creative ways you could simulate real life apps, and also behaviors from the users. So to save time, I think that was it on the live demo. Um, if I may if I may continue on the, I want to end with
You, sorry, you quick one.
yes.
Just to recap to everyone on the call is uh, basically everything that you just went through. The- To sum it up in brief, is so with basic prototypes, you're not dealing with variables, and you're not dealing with logic, in the sense that think of variables as a labeled container that can hold values that can change. Or think of a cup, for example. So a cup can hold water, it can hold coffee, it can hold juice, etc. And then if you combine that um, idea of variables with um, with logic, where we say if this cup has coffee in it, do something. If it has juice in it, do X, Y, Z. So to sum it up, I know we went over our time, But I wanted to just keep that summary to say this is basically combining logic with variables, and that allows you to create prototypes easier. Um, you have less noodles, um, and you have easier to understand prototypes for different stakeholders, developers, um, uh, or even PMs, so on and so forth. So you just wanted to give that summary. Can you go ahead?
Yeah, thank you very much, Frank. Um, Let me end this with some uh, prototyping tips. Uh, the first one, build flows, not just screens. So think about how people move, not just what they see. For example, if I'm logging in, so where do I start? What different edge cases that I could encounter? Let's say if the password is wrong, what should I do? How do I reset the password? Like build flows, not just screens. Like imagine like where a scenario where a user want to achieve something from your product. Now you have to think of the whole flow from the moment they open, uh, they just click somewhere to the moment they receive that. Don't just be like, let me create login, homepage, this and this. No, just build flows. Uh, the second one, use variables wisely, and also that applies to components as well. So do not overuse it. Like only use variables where, or add logic where it brings real value, not just everywhere. So because this sometimes it could take, let's say, time, but also you should be aware of, let's say, the value that is that variable is bringing to the table. So the next one is get feedback. Don't defend, because as designers, most of the time, when it comes to feedbacks, we just want to fight. Uh, Even if it might seem like it's a dumb feedback, or for example, a real life scenario is where maybe you could design something and then a client suggests something else, and then you think you are convinced that yours is better, maybe which might be even true. So don't always try to defend your design. You could also design whatever the client is suggesting, and then see if maybe you let the client see for themselves. And also the always remember that that is the whole point of prototyping, is changing things. Even if a client maybe asks you to change something 10 different let's say 10 times, and then you end up going back to the initial design that you've designed it before. So that is not a waste of time, because that is the whole point of prototyping, being aligned. Because now you know that you have you know, now you have like 9 options that you didn't like. So that is not a waste of time. So embrace feedback, and also love, let's say, to change things on the prototype. If you get frustrated, maybe changing things on the prototype, that means you might be doing something, uh, but maybe you're not using components. You have to do all different micro adjustment, which will make you frustrated. But if you are doing it the right way, you shouldn't get frustrated with the changes. Um, then the another one, think beyond. Users are not like the whole story. Like design for the people, yes, who use the product, but also design for the people who will build the product. We are talking about developers. Also design for the people who approve, design for the people who do support, and also design for the people who maintain the product. Most of the time, we feel like we focus too much, let's say, on the users, and then we even forget the crucial part of how the product will be built, how the product will be delivered. Sometimes we even don't even think about the timeline that we have, what makes sense business wise. So as a designer, you should always keep in mind of that, because sometimes we do have issues where, let's say, system is lagging, and then the developers are catching strays, and then you realize that maybe the real issue was coming from the designer. Maybe they've just designed the table without having, let's say, to understand how different data may be stored in the database, and then they end up maybe making a design that will require a lot of computing power, stuff like that. And then developers are be the ones going to be blamed. Yet the issue was coming from the designer. So as a designer, you need to think beyond, not just users. Yeah, this will be the end of my presentation. Go build something smart. If you have some questions, feel free to shoot. Thank you very much.
All right, cool. Thank you so much, Eve. That was insightful. I'm going to go ahead and open the QA up. To, to people on the call, you can now post questions if any in the QA chat. If not, well, I'm pretty sure we'll have questions. Um, can everyone see the QA chat? All right, let's give it a minute and see if we have any questions that pop up. If not, I guess we'll get the engagement on the community file once we publish this. All right, no questions yet. So that means everybody understood what Eve was going through. Is that right? Hey, people on this call are very quiet. Please drop a message in the chat if you got what Eve was saying, or if it was insightful, or if you have any questions. Yes, Moise in the chat says, yeah, that was a great presentation. Thank you so much, Eve. Another one from Tony. Yeah, says the session was insightful. All right, I see no questions yet. All right, yeah, next time we'll try to do these sessions a bit more quickly, on time. So, usually people get bored of long calls. So I guess, yeah, with that, thank you so much, you, for sharing all this. I think this, for any designer that works on products, prototyping is usually um, uh, sometimes, it's in most cases it's even overlooked, because if it's not done properly, it's a lot of work. So you imagine if you had to uh, create designs for all the things you did with conditions, that will be just so much work. So yeah, thank you so much for your time and for this session. And thank you everyone for attending. We hope this was insightful. We'll get to exchange more on our social media pages and in our next events. With that, we can go ahead and say thank you to everyone. Um, yeah, see you on the next one and have a wonderful weekend.
All right, thank you very much, Frank, for the opportunity.
All right, cool.